Welcome to Stormwater Drainage Solutions. So in today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be replacing a section of corrugated drainage pipe, not because of failure, not because of any issues, because it stood up very well, considering that I've been driving over this area here with a trailer. But we're replacing it with larger 6-inch, and we're going to use SDR 35 PVC pipe because we're going to have significantly more runoff water in this entire area, all right here, because we're going to be putting a woven geotextile fabric down. We're going to put geogrid and we're going to put stone. That way we can start parking this trailer on a stone driveway. So because we're going to be increasing the runoff water, we are going to increase the size of our drainage pipe, and we're going to be adding additional catch basins to be able to pick up that water and get it out of here. We decided to just go ahead and go with PVC for this install because we're going to be driving over this area so much with these trailers, because it's a lot easier to pull them in through here in a certain direction. And as you can see, we're not very deep in the ground here. We are pretty shallow to be able to get our pitch so the water can drain out of these pipes. So we're just going to use PVC because we're going to be running over this area so much, so often. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to cut our pipe roughly in this spot right here, and we're going to adapt over from corrugated to PVC. We're going to run 4-inch PVC for our downspout lateral, 4-inch PVC, and then we're going to put a drain basin here. It's going to dump into that, and then we're going to run a 6-inch main through this entire area here. This corrugated line is for our French drain, so we'll tie that French drain into our basin. That way it has 2 separate lines, and then we'll have our 6-inch main going through here. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we have our lateral line cut. That way we can go ahead and just tie into that and transfer it over to PVC. I'm basically just doing this video on the fly to show you guys a new install. But so I want to show you, here's kind of a negative about corrugated pipe, is because it is HDPE plastic, you know, and this is thick. Don't get me wrong, this is some thick pipe right here and some good quality pipe. But see that hole right there and that hole right there? Those 2 holes were from my probe when I was looking around in the ground trying to find where this pipe was and locate it. The tip of my probe punctured right through the pipe. So, you know, that is one negative about corrugated pipe and HDPE plastic. But with PVC, you know, obviously that won't happen as easily if you're just doing it by hand. But that's just one thing to keep in mind. All right, so we got our trench all dug out and shaped and formed the way we want it. As you can see right here, we got our lateral lines cut and ready to go for the connections. Here's our French drain pipe for our open French drain. And we're gonna start the run with a 12x12 basin box. And it's gonna be a 6-inch main line all through here, because like I said, we're going to be creating a lot of surface runoff water in this area when we put the fabric and the stone down. So we want to be able to collect that runoff water as quickly as possible, and that's what these 2 basins are going to be doing for us. So let's go ahead and let's start laying pipe. All right, so we have our first basin set at the beginning of the run, and then we're going to have our second basin set here. We're actually repurposing this. This is an old basin that came out of the backyard. It already had pre-drilled holes. We could utilize 2 of them. We had to make another hole, and then this hole here, we actually had to close it off. So we just used an NDS cap to close that off, and we're gonna put mortar around all here, around this. So we're not really worried about the seam here because that's gonna have mortar. It's gonna be mortared. Nothing's getting in there. The next step is we're gonna connect our downspout lateral line with PVC into our distribution box and 12x12 basin over there. So we're going to use the French drain man corrugated to PVC adapter for this. So we have our pipe cut where we want it, and we'll go ahead and we'll just pop that adapter fitting in, and then we'll tile tape this up really well. We'll cut our PVC where we want it, push our PVC in here, and then we'll tile tape that up as well. All right, so we have our corrugated to PVC connection tile taped up. very well. So that's a solid connection. And then we have our 4-inch PVC, and we're going to transition into a Y. So that Y is going to pick up the French drain right there, and we're going to have to just curve that and 45 it in here with a combination Y. And then we're going to run our 6-inch main out. All right, so we got all of our connections made here. The last one we have to make is our 6-inch main line to run it all the way out. So you can see we did the same thing here. We just adapted over with a French drain man, corrugated to PVC adapter, just like we did over there. Tile taped it up very well. We just need to glue this in here. This is already glued, this is already glued. We're just checking everything with the level just to make sure that we have quarter bubble, so that bubble's slightly going in the opposite direction of the way we want the water to drain, because we want the water to go that way. So we can check it like this too. Some people like to see it both ways. So we got that quarter bubble, or 1%. It's maybe not a quarter bubble. It kind of is. Yeah. Because this is very important with this French drain, because you have to remember we're going to have a downspout feeding into this distribution box / catch basin. Plus we're going to have another catch basin feeding into it. So we don't want water to backflow into our French drain. So we want to make sure that this pipe is proper and that it's sloped in the direction that we want it to go. And then our main line is going to be set ever so slightly lower than these two, so that the water will flow out in the direction that we want it to go. So whenever you're running drainage pipe, you want the bell end of the pipe to always face the direction that the water is traveling from. The reason for this is because on the bell ends, you have a little tiny rib right in here. It bevels ever so slightly. So you want the water to fall off of that bevel. Now, another important thing is you want to make sure that you prime your pipe before you use the solvent cement. This is very important. You'll hear some guys say, oh, well, it's not necessary if there's, if it's just drainage and there's no roots, or, whatever the excuses are. But at the end of the day, it's very necessary, because the primer, it doesn't just clean the plastic. The primer preps it as well. So it begins to soften the plastic and get it ready to be solvent welded with the glue. So the primer is very important. And just like I said, in general, it cleans the plastic. So it gets the oils from your hands off of it. It dissolves small stuff that's on it. It helps get rid of grime, grease, dirt, anything that may have gotten on that plastic while it was in transport or while you're working. So in my opinion, you want to prime it before you solvent cement it. I mean, if you've already built your system, if you're a DIYer and you just use the solvent cement, that's fine. I wouldn't lose sleep over it. But if you're doing this for your business, if you're a professional and you're installing systems for clients, and if they're going to get inspected, that inspector is going to want to see purple primer. So the way I was taught by the plumber, the plumbers that I worked for, was to make a mess with the primer, because if you make a mess on your pipe with the primer, they're going to see it, and there's no way they can say you didn't see it. So like in this case, you don't see any primer here. So if this was in the trench and the inspector's checking it with his level, making sure that that pipe is properly pitched and making sure it has primer, and he's not seeing any purple on here, you're gonna get a call back for that. So ideally, you want to see the primer on it. We got all of our connections made. Everything is properly sloped in the direction that we want the water to travel. We got our long level on here, checking it. We got a ton of slope, ton of fall, because we're on a hill right here, so it goes downhill anyway. So this is a pretty easy install. We're going to continue to lay our 6-inch main line. Got the bell ends facing the direction the water's flowing, spigot ends facing this way. So we got the entire system completed up. We got the start of the run is a catch basin. We have another catch basin in this low spot that's going to act as our distribution box. So we're grabbing our French drain here, and our downspout lateral line into that Y, and then our 6-inch main is going to run all the way out. And for the end of the discharge, we're just going to have an elbow with a bunch of holes in the bottom with a grate on it, and I'll just put a tether on that grate, so if it pops off during a heavy rain, it won't float away. If you need drainage in the Tampa Bay area, give Stormwater Drainage Solutions a call at 813-614-3456. We can build everything from French drains, downspout drains, channel drains. We got you covered. Give us a call. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. It really supports us. It supports the channel. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And until next time, this is SWDS signing off.